Right, Chance of North Wales here. This is the start of a 24-hour fundraising game. What we're looking at is a replay, the Victorian science fiction version of the Battle of Guadalcanal. So here you have the big island, Henderson Field, and the forces will be, we have a Russian-British alliance, and along here, yet to come on, is the French starter force. And the goal being that over the progression of the next 24 hours, additional forces will come on to keep the game rolling for that long. So, quick word from our Russian-English player.
Yeah, 4,000 of land and air. Hopefully I'll be able to dump enough mines on the island to cope up all movement across the French tanks. Allow me to take the airfield without much of a problem. Hopefully.
Right, I must admit, with my forces, it's going to be a little bit more of a long-term strategy. The French will be bearing the brunt in the initial phases. Then later on we'll have the arrival of the Italians and then the Ottomans in separate national waves. I think the French probably have got the edge in terms of the naval side, but the Russians definitely have the edge in terms of the land. So it'll be interesting to see how this affair shapes up. So what we'll begin with is we've each got a small deployment area, and if we come around here, you see the French forces will be allowed, the Russian forces will be deploying along here, coming on as a full movement. So we're kicking off with roughly 3,000 points per side in the first phase, and then in subsequent phases we'll have more naval forces arriving. The table is 6 foot by 16 foot, so quite a lot of space, so there'll be a fairly hefty naval engagement taking place as well. At the end of the day, at 24 hours, whoever controls that airfield is the winner. Okay, so if you take a quick look around, you can see we've got plenty more games going along here. Some are just for the day. There's a few other groups of lads who are playing for 24 hours as well. So from time to time we're going to take a look around. So the fun starts now to raise money for the Army Benevolent Fund. Right, we now have our first waves have arrived. As you can see here, the Russians and the KOB are working as very much a unified alliance. The forces have landed with the air support as well. Over here, the ROF, who are somewhat thinner in terms of the size of their ground forces, as can be seen, and a bit thinner in terms of their air forces, a bit. But the French are already bringing on supporting naval units. So this was a unit by unit deployment coming in with the elements moving at their basic movement. So really now, as we enter into turn 2, things start hotting up a bit. We'll start to see some shooting and some engagement, and thoughts as to whether this deployment strategy is going to work or whether the French are going to get spanked. So, quick words from John, our commander.
Yeah. Keep going full speed ahead, try and get as close to the objective as possible. Try and use mimic generators, try and copy as many Guardians as I can, because I'm bound to get a lot of rocket spam towards me, and my anti-air is not particularly brilliant. That's about it really, just for now I can't really do much apart from move and try and boost my defences.
Yeah. I think from my point of view is an advance towards the objective, try to thin out his air forces, and then park myself offshore to deliver some longer range firepower. That being the strategy there. So we will see.
Never survives contact with the enemy.
Yeah. So we will see how things go. And if we look across here, lads, we just have a little walk around. So we have, bit of Flames of War. Yeah, more Flames of War for tournament. And some nice.
If there were Macedonians or Romans, then that would be possible.
Well, over here.
We're done by now.
Okay. Thank you. So a fair bit going on. We'll see how things progress now. Right, at the end of turn 2, as we can see, the forces are bursting out of their beachheads. First blood has gone to the French, but we think that may be fairly Pyrrhic in its nature.
2 tiny tokens.
Yeah, 2 tiny tokens. That's a start. And we can see from here the attack. 2 rather different strategies are emerging. So, any comments from David?
To be honest, nothing's happened really. I'm still out of range, so I can't really say much.
Fair enough.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Copying shields. Give myself a bubble of shields.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. So, we know full well that once the range is closed, things are going to get far more painful for the French. So we'll have to see what emerges. And as you can see here, guys are still happily beavering away for sustained gaming. So until we think that turn 3 may see a bit more bloodshed, and it's in turn 4 that fleets start arriving, or at the end of turn 4 that the fleets start arriving over here.
Well, that's good. If I go over there, I might decide to go my ship to the front. Log. I'll swing into the and just see you walking up ahead.
Well, it's the end of turn 3, and things have certainly hotted up a bit. I think it's fair to say that a lot of the action has centred around our aerial forces. If you look in the French dead pile, there are 3 Furios that were destroyed by their own mines. When the Kamchatkas, well, one of them, that is currently in the dead zone, succeeded in blowing up one Furio and then blew up the mines underneath it. So a line of vessels there were torn to pieces. Don't worry, revenge has been sweet to say the least. With both Kamchatkas destroyed, the big land dreadnought reduced down to 2 hull points, and when one Kamchatka exploded, it succeeded in doing an awful lot of damage.
fair amount of damage to everything.
Yeah.
Crippling a lot of stuff.
So it's the Russians in. It's been painful. It's been bloody. Down here, the French have certainly, been on the receiving end of a fair bit of fire. But we have been able to, fortunately, administer some as well. However, as things get to close range, I know the Russians are going to be looking to administer a jolly good spanking.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what we can do in that. Nothing's much been happening in the bay apart from some long-range fire as the French try to get into position. Any comments here from our John?
No, I made a mistake in putting the land dread not too far forward.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as someone said, I got distracted by big.
Yeah.
I threw my large stuff in front. But hopefully the next turn will bring in some more long-range ships. Maybe our battle cruisers and support cruisers.
Yes.
Mobile mortars.
So at the end of turn 4, we'll
See what happens.
we'll start with, there'll be 2,000 point naval force coming on. So things are going to probably start hotting up around here in the bay. And so effectively there's going to be, for a while, we're going to be playing roughly a 5,000 point game. So that'll certainly be interesting on the number of activations and everything else. But it also means that when the naval does come on, the land is going to be quite well developed. So as you can see, this big empty expanse of sea is going to get a little bit busier. Maybe. So I've got a horrible feeling the Russians are going to be focusing their bombard power onto the island.
Some of it.
Yeah. So, quick look around what else is going on. The Flames of War tournament continues at a steady pace. You see an awful lot going on here. That's having a great series of games. Well, a tournament and one big game. And you guys are doing the 24-hour, aren't you, as well?
Yes, we're doing a 24-hour.
So what exactly are you doing?
Pardon?
What game are you doing?
We're playing as many games as possible.
Right, of Ancients.
Ancients, yeah.
With which rule set?
Hail Caesar and War Master.
Okay.
We're doing a proper
Okay. So you're in your first game, or you're already in your
We're
second?
still in our first game.
Okay.
It's a big game actually, 450 points in.
And how have you guys been doing on getting the sponsorships?
Kevin's got £380.
That's very well done. Very well done indeed.
Sorry, 360.
Yeah.
360. I've around about 150, 45. And
I think I'm around, probably going to be around the 50-60 mark. So I've had a good run of it.
How much was it? 35?
Yeah. Are those guys doing 24 hours, or
38 quid we got from there.
are those guys doing 24 hours, or just a one-day game?
One day game.
One normal one-day game. Okay. Great. Thank you for that. So, until the next report at the end of turn 4, we'll carry on. So, what news of the front line? Well, after 3 hours to play turn number 4, we can see that it has been fairly savage on the aerial front. The French have largely been able to preserve their land forces, but that has been at the cost of a large portion of their air force and inflicting some damage on the Russian air forces as well, and their land forces. Particularly taking out the land dreadnought took a lot of
Several turns of firepower.
that were focused on that land dreadnought in order to achieve that. However, the Alliance's large air fleet is largely untouched. So the French are going to have a bit of a job handling that, I think. Also what's happened, well, you can see that Henderson Field is in the tenuous hand grip of the French. How well they can hold on to it will be another matter. How well they can survive the assault. On the naval side, the reinforcements fleet has come in, and on our side the Italians have arrived, 2,000 points worth. So the naval battle is going to start hotting up a bit. Out here in the bay, the French cunning plan hasn't worked that well because we couldn't get into bloody range in time. So they're on their way, hopefully, to support the land forces. But we'll see what else happens. So will this become Iron Bottom Sound? We walk round. So what are your feelings about this turn?
Last turn, I was happy with the Air Force.
Yeah.
This turn, I'm hoping to get a lot of my artillery pieces into play so I can just sit back on the side of the island and completely bombard the airfield until there's nothing left in it.
Yeah.
And hopefully be able to move a couple of units in to hold it.
Yeah.
That's the plan, at least. Depends if it survives the contact with the enemy. Has to do.
Yeah, that's true. Right. My plan. Use my beloved French artillery to pound their air force and make any advancement towards the airfield as costly as is humanly possible. That's got to be the strategy today. He's got to, with the distance he's got to travel, his advance he's got to pay dearly for his advance. The Italians, being water hunters, are going to have an advantage up against the subs. But it could be interesting to see how this naval battle goes. It's two very, very different forces here. Yes. So, quick walk around what else is going on. The modern scenario continues. And the guys playing their ancients. Alright, which game are you guys on now? Still in your... Are you lads still in your first game? You still in your first game?
Yes.
Okay. The ancients are certainly having fun. So... Alright, we wait to see. It's... what time is it? What time of night is it now?
It's now 10 to 7.
It's now 10 to 7, so we've been playing for 6 hours. That's the first quarter of the 24-hour game has gone to get us to here.
It's going to take even longer. The more stuff turns up, the more it's going to go wrong.
So do we take this out to what, another 4 turns before the next load, or 6 turns before the next load?
I give it, say, 3 turns, because if it's going to take 4 hours per turn,
yeah,
I'd say 3 turns, and then the big stuff turns up.
And so in the 4th turn, in the 4th turn we get the next fleet coming in. Okay, fair dues. That should be entertaining. Right, so in the I think it's going to be about another 3-4 hours time we'll do the next update. It's now 9 o'clock. That was turn 5.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Turn 5 took about 2 hours to play. And I can say it was fairly eventful. The Italians have now started to swing in. I think we're going to get into a rather heavy fleet engagement quite quickly here. the French are still working their way into the bay. On the ground, the French land forces have plans have gone a bit awry.
Catastrophic damage from a single tank.
Yes, we have to say here, one Shah exploded and damaged a fair portion of the armour, caused a second Shah there to explode and damage even more. So from one tank exploding, it destroyed, well, basically
It's killed 2 tanks.
it's two tanks and inflicted 2 points of damage on every single vehicle in the adjacent squadron, which, considering that the tank that fired was that one bloody base with damage, is, we know who's going to be getting hero of the Russian Empire if that base survives, which I intend to make sure it bloody well doesn't. The flyers are now starting to make their presence really felt, and we're having to throw in our artillery into dealing with them. The French intention had been to use its medium tanks to thin them out, and as we can see here, the French medium armour the Russian medium armour is largely intact, whereas the French medium armour has taken a bit of a hammering.
Yeah, they are badly damaged.
Yeah.
I might just have to just roll in and that's it, actually, the airfield.
Yes.
The amount of damage I've done to you.
So that's gone a little bit to pot. As we can see here, support fleets have been arriving. Yes. Suddenly the French position has gone from pretty good to let's see how well we can hold.
Yeah, how long we can last.
Yes. Against the Russian steamroller. We do have something else up our sleeve, but
Could be me just waiting for you to come around the corner.
yeah.
Mass firepower.
Yes. So we will have to see. So how do you feel?
Pleased.
Yeah.
Smug. One tank. I'm quite pleased with the armour.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I've taken so long to get the move, but it's actually worked out in my favour now that I have undamaged armour that I can now bring in. Probably take the objective if I don't cock it up somehow.
Yeah.
There's need more ships on the sea. More
Yes.
hitters. Somewhat
Yeah.
outnumbered.
I think that might be where the French and their allies have the advantage, will be in the naval fight
Yeah. Still, I've got a lot of heavy hitters.
coming up. Yeah. And over here, how's it going, lads? Into which battle are you in now?
We're on the second battle, and it's late Romans against Sasanian Persians.
Okay.
The first blood to the Persians,
Okay.
and we're outnumbered.
Fair enough.
Outnumbered, outgunned.
You've been outnumbered. You've got more troops than we have.
You had, hey, no, we haven't. Yours are heavier than yours.
Okay. Well, the fun and games carry on into the depths of the night. So, we will see now. It's now just gone 9 o'clock. So the next update will probably be sometime around 11.
Yeah, or 12.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's now 11 o'clock, or 10 to 11. So this is turn 6. So turn 6 has taken us an hour and 50 minutes. And we'll start off on the island. Things are looking tough here for the French. The land forces have been thinned down further. The French medium armour, so much the backbone, is not in a good state of health, with one squadron of tanks wiped out, another one reduced down to one, and the third one in a bit of a battered state. The artillery is still largely there, but as always, a lot is hinging on my artillery. The land dreadnought has taken, the land battleship has taken a bit of a walloping as well. So let's just hope she can make her repair rolls and keep going. The big fear now is that the Russian mediums are largely undamaged, and I don't think there's enough here to hold them. The flyers, the large flyers, the Russian ones, have been battered, but there's still one intact Eagle and one undamaged Eagle. From the point here, still slowly sailing into the bay, is that original French force, but one squadron of Chevaliers has really just been used for target practice more than anything else by the looks of it. They've not really contributed anything, which is a bit of a shame. But the goal being to bring the French up to the line in the bay and use that to help provide support for the land forces. And also with the battleship as well to add some backbone to the defence. We'll have to see there. Going into the centre, the Italians have closed the range quite quickly, as would be anticipated, and with a decent concussion charges and good torpedo firing, we could be in for a bit of fun here. We hope.
It's more of a stalling tactic now then.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, big stuff turns up now.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be at the end of this turn.
Nice.
Yeah. We start. So coming into turn 7, we'll take a quick look at what our colleagues are doing. Okay. Are you still in game 2 or now in game? You're still in game 2? Yeah.
Game 2, yeah.
Okay.
The Sassians are on the upper hand.
Okay. It's a nice game going on here. Okay. When looking back to here, right, go on. Your thoughts quickly.
Basically, I'm now trying to just stall until my larger heavy hits turn off. My land force, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, is just pushing, hitting with a bunch of tanks.
Yeah.
Cause problems with the air force. And yeah, the submarines are just going to try and stall
Yes.
as much as they can, crash and either ram as much as they can before
Yeah.
they go down. Which they will go down.
The Italians want to be in a position to make the job of the next fleet as difficult as possible when they arrive. Likewise, there's going to be a heavy hit. There's going to be a large French fleet, pretty loaded with the heavies coming on next. But I say they'll be coming on towards the end of this turn. After this turn is played fully, then next turn they'll start coming on, and then there'll be one more fleet after that. So we'll see how this goes. But yes, getting desperate on the island. So can the French, with their allies, pull a miracle out of the hat here? We'll see. So I think the next report is going to be about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So till then, gentlemen. Okay, it's now 1:03 in the morning. We have been playing this battle for 12 hours consistently. And from the French perspective, it's getting desperate here around Henderson Field. Our ground forces are suffering hard. We have pared down, thankfully, a lot of the Air Force, but as can be seen, there's a lot of Russian medium armour that is... We've not kept enough of our armour, and our artillery, our beloved French artillery, is starting to feel the pressure now.
Small tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the strike force has been clobbered, battered, and otherwise rearranged. It's so the island is, the situation is looking increasingly precarious for the French. Some repair rolls here will be absolutely essential, as will a couple of morale rolls. At last, the French fleet that started off at the start of the game has actually got into the right position in the bay, taking 7 turns to do so. What effectiveness that will be another matter. Here, maybe the story is slightly different.
Well, stalling's working.
Yeah. The Italians are engaging with vigour, but it's against a pretty damn difficult to hit enemy force. Thank you very much. The subs are being trimmed down, but by when the enemy heavies arrive, the Italians are going to be pretty much staring down the guns of the main ships. So let's just hope that it can have a disruptive effect. We will see. An interesting Italian sinking. The one cruiser was sunk by another cruiser being propelled backwards into it, and then doing a double critical in the process.
Yeah, that was good.
Which was one of the most ridiculous sinkings I've seen yet.
Doing quite well with random shenanigans by blowing up one tank, causing a mass chain reaction.
Yeah.
And causing an impact and blowing out.
Yes.
Didn't too badly.
Yes, the French have suffered that from, be it mines.
Oh yeah.
They have suffered. I would say in this game that the French have suffered quite a lot from chain reactions.
Yeah, flukes.
Yeah. And just weird
stuff that's happening.
So, quick view on that's the Russian losses. Quick view from the Russian commander on their feelings. Apart from being so tired,
it's very tired, but it's not going too badly. To be honest, I thought it would suffer a lot more casualties by now, but to be honest, what's happened to the submarines is to be expected.
Yeah.
There's not that many frigates coming out, I mean destroyers.
Yeah.
I'll get around it somehow. See what happens next turn.
Yeah.
Craft turn.
Well, towards the end of next turn.
Well,
yeah. Okay. Quick. And how are these gentlemen getting on? Which battle are you on?
Still on number 2.
2. Okay.
Number 2, yeah.
That's good going, guys. Though for
2 games so far, large games they are.
Yeah. Okay. You do it. Right. Right, it's 3:05 in the morning. We have just finished turn 8, and well, the sea battle I think has gone a bit more in the Italian way.
Still took casualties though. So.
We paid a price for it, undeniably. Our smalls were certainly thinned out, our mediums were thinned out. Battleships intact, carriers intact. You know, we still got some bite on the waves, but we certainly don't have the huge number of smalls that, particularly the frigates, that we had previously. But, you know, I've kept some of my teeth back. So, we've still got 2 intact battleships. So yeah, I'm not complaining. I know part of it was down to that the support force over there was kept out of the fight. So the Italians threw in a high proportion of their forces. Pair of hoods are going to give problems, but we've eliminated the submarine threat.
Yeah, expecting less than that.
Yeah. So I'm, it's getting ready for the major naval battle coming up now. Fun?
It's going to be quite ruthless, it appears.
Yeah. And over here on the land. Right, well, the Russians are on the verge of breaking into the compound that is Henderson Field.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be much there to stop them. Their mediums are getting pretty much to overrun things. Their heavy has taken some hits, but not enough to really count. And it could be, unless some long-range firepower thins out the Russian mediums,
I'm going to basically take the objectives.
yeah, we'll have to see what happens when I bring on more surface skimmers.
Take it over 9 hours, yeah, hold it.
Yeah. The flyers been a bit battered, but they're still there. The original a large chunk of the original air armada, or a good chunk of the original air armada, is there. So whether the Russians, have the staying power with the other parts coming.
Yeah.
These guys are now parked in the bay. Some changes of plans here and there. So a quick perspective from our Russian player.
I haven't got one right now, to be honest, apart from tanks just keep moving, take the objective, bring my ships in and hopefully cut off the island so no one can get on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully. That's the plan. That's all I've got so far.
Okay.
I'm a bit tired now to think of any further ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. At 3 a.m. So we've now gone past the 14 hours of solid play. Right, gentlemen, how are you getting on?
We're on our third game,
Okay.
and we're playing Normans against Byzantines.
Yeah.
A historic, more or less.
So this is after how many hours of playing?
We've been playing since 11 o'clock this morning. On this game?
Yeah, no, you've been playing since 11, so you're now into your 15th hour of playing.
Yes.
That's pretty good going. That's very good going.
It's telling on us.
Yeah, I've certainly...
We have to put our glasses on.
Well, what I found about our battle is, it's actually quite physical because of the size of the bloody table.
You've got to keep walking around.
Yeah.
Walking around, yeah.
And it is, I thought 24-hour wargaming is meant to be cerebral, but really it's proving to be far more physical than I anticipated. So...
Yeah, backs hurting me, my knees are hurting me. Yeah, the backs of my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I tell you, I'm earning this fucking
Yeah,
donation.
sponsorship, yes.
Wow.
Right.
Be sponsored on it. Wow.
Okay. Right.
Maybe, we'll see.
Right. Well, we've just finished turn 8. It's now 5:15 in the morning. Turn 8 took about 2.5 hours to play. On the island, well, there's still some French here. Not many of them. And now the Russians are occupying, well, they've seized Henderson Field. I can still say at a pinch it might be called contested, but at the merest pinch. Only just. The trouble is the Russian medium armour is still in existence. The French have come up in support here, but whether that's going to be enough at this stage is another matter. The field is looking increasingly like the playground of Russian medium armour. It'll take some long-range hitting power or other elements to whittle down these units. If we look here, well, the Italians blunted the centre ground, and there's enough of them there to still make a difference, but they suffered very heavily on the smalls. They did lose an awful lot of smalls at this stage. Yes, we have 2 after, I think we came on with something like 18 Italian small vessels, 3 squadrons of frigates and a squadron of destroyers. They've been trimmed down a bit. They've paid the price all right for it. So the third force has now come on, bringing in just over 2,000 points for both sides. And then there will be, after 3 more turns of play, the final formation will come on the table. So what are your feelings apart from being absolutely dead tired and
dead to the world? The games haven't gone too badly. It's just general steamroll now, and just try and push and destroy as much as I can.
Yeah.
Cripple anything that gets near it and just hold the objective until the end. It's like 6 hours or 7 hours or what it lasts.
Yes. Which at this rate, 7 hours is what, 3 turns?
Yeah.
We may have to bring the final formation on a bit earlier then.
There's no time we finish towards the end.
Yeah.
Not on by 11 then we'll bring one.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll see what's going on over here. How are you lads getting on?
Starting off 4th game.
What?
Starting off
4th game, that's good going.
Byzantines against Sassanids.
Okay, well done. So,
A proper list, not
yeah.
a made up one.
Okay. Okay. So, we'll see how this gets on. Certainly proving an interesting way to play Dystopian. Yeah, certainly not something to do any more than once a year at the very most. Right, this is the end of turn 9. Pardon? 9. As can be seen, the next 2 fleets are bearing down upon each other. On the island, on Henderson Field, the Russians have now seized control. The French are making a dash to at least try to leave it contested by the end. We'll see what we can achieve. Still trying to pare down the flyers, but it's now, what's the time? Yeah, 7 a.m. So this turn has taken what, another 2 hours. So we can see what's happening here. Desperately tired. But we are now witnessing the dawn as well. But yeah, and have a quick word. How are you lads getting on?
Slow.
Which game are you on?
5.
5, okay.
Game 5. Byzantines against Sassanids.
Okay. Okay.
5. This is game 5.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right. Any quick comments?
No comments, to be honest.
Okay.
Tired, really.
Alright, well, let's plough on now into turn 10. It's now 8:30 in the morning, and we have come to the end of turn 11, or turn 12. Hold on, I've got it down here. No, this was the end of turn 10, so... right, the perspective here. The island has got a bit thinner. The French, the Russian mediums are still dominating, but hopefully we'll be able to thin that out further. Hopefully. In the centre, the Italians that remained have been largely wiped out now, as the main forces arriving, leaving just one battleship in the fray. That's unscathed, so he'll be able to add something to the party, but the French fleet is drawing in, so we're about to see, if we look here, a fairly big clash of steel in the next turn. Over here, the flyers continue to do flying sort of things, with a bit of a personal engagement going on with the escort cruisers here. Will these Marseilles make their run to reclaim Henderson Field? We have to see. We really don't know. I haven't got the faintest idea. That ship has gone in a complete circle because I've been trying to make sure I keep my national Commodore alive. More French. Right. Any kind of vaguely coherent comment from our...
There's nothing much to say about it, to be honest. Again, simple plan of moving forward.
Yeah.
The enemy, that's all I can do now.
Yeah.
Destroy as much as I can.
Okay. And quick question, guys. It's now 8:30. How are you guys getting on?
Okay, you're doing all right.
Which game are you in now?
This is game 4. I was wrong. It wasn't 5. It's
Game 4. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well done, guys.
Got nothing.
So we will now continue apace. I've got a horrible feeling that, considering that all the French ships, that all the Russian ships have got their ablative, and that where possible many of them have mimicked the English shields, they're going to be even tougher than usual to deal with. So we will see. Right, so let's crack on with this turn. Right, it's now 11 o'clock on Sunday. We've just finished turn 11 and about to go into turn 12. We've calculated that this game would have come to about 7,500 points per person, averaging out, because of the way it was played, 2 hours per turn. So what is the situation? Well, on the island, the two squadrons of Marseilles have made their presence felt.
Taking a while to go.
Yeah. We'll see whether it can be still left in a contested situation by the end of this turn. Coming around here, the support cruisers, the QAs, have given him quite a good slapping.
It's not that much a heavy hitter.
No, and it might stand a chance of knocking that out of the sky. Around here, though, the big problem is Russian battleships with ablative armour that then mimic British shields has proven mind-numbingly tough. So the French are steaming up, trying to get into good heat lance range and setting up as many tiny flyer attacks as possible. I think there's going to be a whole cascade of them coming in soon. So we'll see whether the combination of tiny flyers and heat lances has the desired effect. So let's give it a go. Any comments before we go into the last?
Nah, I haven't got any comments really. Nah. Quite happy with the way the game's gone. We've been doing the 24-hour thing for a long time.
No, it is a bit. It's not so much. I found it not too bad mentally, but it's because of the size of the table. Yeah. You're standing and walking around an awful lot. It's actually tougher physically than I expected it to be.
It's tired.
Yeah, and I think that's all right. So everybody else is gone. We're playing, making sure we play on 212. So yeah, we'll have a quick report at the end. Right, it is now 12:30 on Sunday. We have been playing Dystopian Wars for the best part of 24 hours non-stop in a single engagement. Now, the final scores have been worked out on the basis of what's actually left alive on the table. Bearing in mind that we've both committed 7,500 points in over the 24 hours. With nothing actually being recycled, this was all fresh from our inventories, and no ships were actually brought back. So the French, with their Italian allies, have 2,002 points left on the table, and the Russians, with their British allies, have
2,330 points left.
So it is a fairly narrow victory
for the good guys.
To the Russians and British, but certainly not a walkover. So I've got to say, firstly, thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I believe this has probably raised how much?
A couple £100 at least.
No, but between the two of us.
No, really. I think I've given about, well, not much, but 50 quid to the...
50 quid, fair enough.
You.
I think we would, between the two of us, I think we're looking at about 100 quid for the Army Benevolent Fund, which, you know...
Any little bit of help.
Yeah. So, incredible 24-hour of gaming. And as can be seen here, the island, Henderson Field, remains contested, though the advantage is in the hands of the Russians by weight of numbers. Right? The air forces have been largely eliminated. And I think if it's being one, and here, well, that dread is down to one hull point.
Yeah, the British dread is.
Yeah.
The Russian dread's undamaged though.
Yeah, the Russian dread is undamaged, that Russian battleship is undamaged, and the damage that was caused in this part of the engagement was the Russian battleship, British battleship, 3 British cruisers, and the Russian cruiser, and some smaller stuff. The French, in this part of the engagement, we lost 2 of our heavy cruisers, 3 of our Marseilles, and we have a carrier in an absolutely dreadful state. So I think on the seas, it's equal on the seas, and with an advantage to the Russians on the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a definite advantage to the Russian on the land. So I'm happy enough with that as an outcome.
I'm done. Yep.
That was a very good game. To all our viewers who have now endured 12 turns in a 7,500 point game, thank you for watching. We're not going to be playing a game like this for quite a long time, but would encourage anybody who wants to have a go at a fundraising event to give this an attempt.
Yeah, give it a go.
Give it a go. You may regret it afterwards, but it's worth giving a go. So thank you.